So the report came out last week about the mysterious $1.8 billion that South Carolina lawmakers couldn't even determine was real. So they paid a forensic accounting firm millions to figure it out. I watched a House Ways and Means debriefing from this firm on their findings. I put a link to the full report in the comments, but first, let's get a summary of what they were brought in for.
Okay. We issued an RFP, and the scope of the work was to investigate the $1.8 billion and confirm its existence. If it existence, what was it? To confirm the accuracy of the $3.5 billion restatement made in the 2022 ACFR. In addition, they looked at all the cash and investments held in the state treasury and the reconciliation and balancing of such cash and investments in any unreconciled funds that may exist in the general ledger. They made a determination of accuracy within the general ledger accounts for cash and investments, as well as to review the amounts of cash and investments reported in various of the state's historical ACFRs or financial statements. And finally, they were engaged to provide a list of findings and recommendations for any corrective entries and actions necessary, along with recommendations for procedures and controls to be implemented in the future so this would not occur again in the future.
This debrief went on for over an hour. If you're into banking and accounting, you're going to love it. But for the rest of us, Representative Chris Murphy did a great job of summarizing things.
So we have $1.8 billion. $1.6 billion is phantom money, doesn't exist, correct?
That's correct.
And never existed.
And then never existed. And then there's $245 million that is actual dollars, correct?
Those are actual dollars, but
And
it's our understanding that those funds would have been appropriated at some point along the way.
Right, that have been appropriated in previous budgets or
Correct.
budget. So, okay.
Now, what about the guy in charge, Treasurer Curtis Loftus? Representative Micah Caskey takes care of business there.
And so in the last 24 hours, as I've learned that apparently these monies never existed. And that stands in opposition, if correct, to things that we've been told in the past. And so I just want to make sure that I haven't confused anything here. And so I'd like to offer to you some comments that I had taken to heart and shared with my neighbors and constituents about our situation over the last year or so. On March 6th of 2024, in an interview with Fox Carolina News, State Treasurer Curtis Loftus had said that the $1.8 billion was invested and, quote, "We've made $194 million off of that money. It wasn't forgotten," end quote. Is that statement consistent with your findings?
We don't see how the 1.6 billion could have been invested given the origins of where it came from and not being real cash.
Okay. Senator Young had referenced the 1.8 and said, quote, "You had mentioned, you being Senator Loftus, or excuse me, Treasurer Loftus here, you had mentioned that this money has earned interest," to which the Treasurer had responded, quote, "Yes, sir," end quote. Senator Young then stated, quote, "And earlier today you told us that the money had earned about $225 million," end quote. And Treasurer Loftus responded, quote, "Yes, sir," end quote. Senator Young followed up and said, quote, "And is that over the course of the 7 years?" To which the Treasurer responded, "Yes, sir." Senator Young then asked, quote, "And how do you know that?" The Treasurer responded, quote, "It is invested in the pool and we took the lowest daily rate and computed that, just ran the spreadsheets," end quote. Is there any way that the $1.6 billion could have earned $225 million through investment?
I don't believe there's any way that it could have earned any money on those investments or on that balance because it does not represent real cash.
Alas, a source of vexation for us.
So, what's in store for Treasurer Loftus? Well, last week, articles of impeachment were filed in both the State House and State Senate. Will the good old boys rally around him? or do accountability for huge errors and lying to cover it up apply only to you and me.